This conference will now.
Right, let's start today's session. In the last session of Python, we were discuss about object-oriented programming. I have given complete introduction to object-oriented programming, and also we have started with the basic programming. We were discuss in the last session difference between methods and constructors. Even I have given clarity what is the difference between constructor and method. So in object-oriented programming, constructor name is always underscore underscore init. This is initialization. Method name can be of any name. And constructor will execute automatically when we create object to the class, but method will execute only when we call the method. For every object creation, constructor will execute once, but for every object we can call method with any number of times. So including constructor is optional, including method is optional, but anyone we can use. So here in this program, current program, we included constructor as well as method. In this program, I have included only constructor, but there is no methods. Look at this, only constructor is there. But when we have only constructor, okay, constructor details if you want to print, then we use simply dictionary format. So here E1 is a object, employee is a class, and this object E1 and E2 objects are displaying the details which using dictionary format. So we don't have any method right now to display employee details. Next here, including uh, what we can say constructor is optional. In this program, there is no constructor, only what we have methods are there. So get emp details is a method, display emp details is a method. All are methods only. So this is basic structure of Python object-oriented programming. Okay. So in today's session, after getting clarity of class, object, constructor, and method, difference between constructor and method, today I'm going to discuss about types of variables in Python object-oriented programming class. Okay. As I said that class is a collection of variables and methods. So what type of variables are there and what type of methods are there we have to discuss. So first I'm trying to discuss about types of variables. Types of variables inside the class. Okay. So we can use three types of variables are allowed in Python class. Three types of variables are allowed. Three types of variables are allowed in Python object-oriented programming class. What are the three types of variables means? First type variable is instance variables. These also called as object level variables. Okay. Next type of variables are called static variables. Static variables. These type of variables also called as class level variables. Next type is local variables. These types of variables are called method level variables. Method level. Total, how many types of variables are allowed in Python object-oriented programming class? Three types of variables. Instance variables, these also called as object level. Static variables, these also called as class level. Local variables, these also called as method level. Okay. Instance variables, that is object level. Static variables, that is class level. Local variables, that is method level. So these are the three types of variables are allowed in Python object-oriented programming class. Yes, one by one we will discuss. First type is instance variables. Instance variables. So let me discuss about instance variables. These also called as object level. Instance variables means if the value of variable if the value of variable is varied from object to object. If the value of variable is varied from object to object, then such type of variables are called what variables, instance variables. I will give you justification of this statement just a moment. If the value of variable is varied from object to object, varied means different, then such type of variables are called instance variables, we can say that. If the value of variable is varied from object to object, then such type of variables are called instance variables. Yes, instance variables. I will give you justification of this statement in a program just a moment. But where we can declare instance variables, where we can declare instance variables, I'm saying, where we can declare instance variable. See, for your kind information, declaration is different and access is different, sir. Got my point? Declaration is different and access is different. This also note this point. Declaration is different, access is different. Access means when we try to use print statement. Declaration means only declare, no printing. So I'm talking about instance variables now, where we can declare instance variables. Point number one, we can declare instance variables inside the constructor by using okay, by using by using self. Give me 1 second. Hello, చెప్పండి. నడుస్తుంది, మిడిల్ ఉన్నాను, మీరు ఆపేయండి కాల్. Now, so inside the constructor by using self. Okay, next, inside the inside the method by using self. Next, outside of the class by using object reference. Inside the constructor by using self. Inside the method by using self. Outside of the class by using object reference. Inside the constructor by using self. Inside the method by using self. Outside of the class by using object reference. Okay, yeah. So these places where we can declare instance variables means here. We can declare instance variable inside the constructor using self is possible. Inside the method using self is possible. Outside of the class by using object reference. Because in the last session we discussed clearly. Okay, we discussed clearly. What we discussed? Self will work only within the class. Self will work only within the class. Outside the class, then what it will work? Okay, outside the class, object reference only will work. Okay, object reference only will work. Self will work only within the class. Outside the class, object reference. So that's what here, using constructor self, using method self, using outside the class by using object reference only. So these places we can declare instance variable. Let's see the example. I'm taking object oriented programming 5. Object oriented programming 5. 5 is already there. Let's go for 6. Object oriented programming 6. Now, Now you can see I'm creating one class, test class. Class name is test. Okay. I'm creating one constructor in it. Self dot a equals to 10. This is what inside the constructor I declare instance variable a only. Declaration only. Okay. This is self dot a. A is an instance variable. Next, inside the method also we can declare instance variable. How to declare? Self dot b equals to 20. Okay, outside the class means t equal to test. It's object creation. This is the outside the class. Once we create an object to the class and outside the class only, we are declaring instance variable. Now we can see how to declare instance variable outside the class. Outside of the class by using object reference. Okay, object reference means t dot c equals to 30. Got my point? So in which places we can declare instance variables? Inside the constructor using self. We can declare instance variable. Inside the method using self, we can declare instance variable b. And outside the class by using object reference. T is the object of this test class. T dot c equals to 30 means, so T dot c equal to 30 means object reference c is the instance variable, object reference is t only. But if I want to print this all t reference, t underscore underscore dact dictionary. So what output you are going to get, sir? Because here t is the object reference. I want to display all the instance variables. So by using dictionary format. So the moment when we create this object, who will execute? Constructor will execute. Once constructor execution successfully done, what value will be assigned? 10 value assigned to the variable called a only. Okay, 10 value I am assigning to the variable a. So next, init is a special method or constructor. When we create object to the class, okay, so automatically a variable will be initialized, a value 10. Now t dot c equals to 30 means c value 30 can hold on t. So the moment when I print t dot dictionary, only a value 10 and c value 30 only will display. Look at this. In dictionary format, a value 10 and c value 30 will be displayed. So why not b value 20 is going to display? Because this b variable initialize or declare inside which method? M1 method. But did I call M1 method? No. So that's what p value 20 value is not going to appear in the dictionary format. So you know that constructor will execute automatically as soon as when we create object to the class, but method will not execute automatically. So when we call the method, then only it will execute. So I have not called this M1 method. That's what b variable value 20 is not affected in the dictionary. So I need to call a method also. So t dot m1. So now in the line number 8, when we create object to the class, who will execute? Constructor will execute automatically. And constructor through what value will be assigned? 10 value will be assigned to variable called a only. Now next t dot m1 method I'm calling. The moment when we call m1 method, self dot b equals to 20. 20 value will be stored into b. So b also will be there. 20 value will be there in the t. And t dot c equal to 30 means 30 value will be there in t. Automatically t dot dictionary means a10 b20 c30. We got on? Yes. So this is exactly, this program clearly demonstrate where we can declare instance variable, where we can declare instance variables. Got my point? Where we can declare, only declaration. That you have to observe here, only declaration. Declaration means a value 10, b value 20, c value 30. We are not printing anywhere, we are printing object reference. That is not an issue. Okay, only declaration. So you have to note this in this example, in which places we can declare instance variables. Inside the constructor, we can declare instance variable by using self. Inside the method, we can declare instance variable by using self. Outside the class, we can declare instance variable by using object reference. Outside the class also, we can declare instance variable by using what? Object reference. Got my point? Yes. So this is the case. So inside the constructor by using self, inside the method by using self, outside the class by using object reference. So this example is clear where we can declare instance variables. Next, how to access instance variables. How to access instance variables. Where we can access. Okay, just better. Where we can declare is over. Where we can access. Where we can access instance variables. Access means print only. Point number one. We can access instance variables within the class by using self. We can access instance variables within the class by using self. Okay. Next, we can access instance variables outside of the class by using object reference. Observe here. We can access instance variables within the class by using self. Outside of the class, self will not work. No, that's what I'm saying. Object reference. Okay. Let's see this example separately. Let me create so that you will get clarity. Object oriented programming 7. I'm creating one more class, same class, test class, and here it is init self dot a equals to 10, self dot b equals to 20. These are what instance variables are not? Yes. I want to access this instance variables what I declare in the constructor within the same class like method m1 method. Access means what? Print here. Okay, print self dot a, print self dot b. So this m1 method is belongs to which class? Test class. M1 method is belongs to which class? Test class only. M1 method. So M1 method is belongs to test class means, so this M1 method inside the class or not? Yes. So we are trying to access instance variable A and B within the class or not? Yes. So this is what within the class. Within the class I can say that. But I can also access instance variables outside the class. Means t equal to test. This place t dot m1 I'm taking because method we have to call it, then only this will execute. These three lines will execute when we call this method. I'm calling this method. Next place is outside the class only I'm accessing. Outside of the class. Outside of the class, how we can access instance variable? By using object reference t dot a into t dot b only. This is very simple. Let's run this. So now we can see object oriented programming 7 and run this. Within the class we are able to access. Outside of the class also we are able to access. Okay. Within the class, how we are accessing? By using self. Outside the class, how we are accessing? By using object reference. Access means print here. We are printing this. This is access like this. So we can access instance variables within the class by using self. We can access instance variables outside of the class by using object reference. So where we can access instance variables means this is. Where we can declare instance variables means this is. Now I will give you justification of this statement. If the value of variable is varied from object to object, then such type of variables are called instance variable side. Okay, but Just observe here. Note, you know that we can create any number of objects to the class. Yes, we can create any number of objects to the class. We can create any number of objects to the class for sure. For every object, for every object, for every object, a separate, separate copy of, for every object, a separate copy of instance variables will be created. We can create any number of objects to the class. For every object, a separate copy of instance variables will be created. Okay. If we change or delete one copy of instance variables, if we change or delete one copy of instance variables, then other copy of other copy of other copy of instance variables will not affect. Instance variables will not affect, I can say that. Because object to object, separate copy of instance variables will be created. We can create any number of objects to the class. Object 1, object 2, object 3, object 4, and so on. But for every object, a separate copy of instance variables will be created. If we change or delete one copy of instance variables, then other copy of instance variables will not affect, I am saying. That's the reason I have given definition. If the value of variable is varied from object to object, then such type of variables are called instance variables. Okay, yeah. I will show you the clear example about this note. Okay, but before that, how to delete instance variables, I have to show that. How to delete instance variables. How to delete instance variables. How to delete instance variables. We'll see this. How to delete instance variables. Point number one. We can delete instance variables. We can delete instance variables within the class as follows. Del space self dot variable name. Next, we can delete instance variables outside of the class as follows. Del space object reference dot variable name. We can delete instance variables within the class as follows. Del is a keyword, self is the special variable, dot variable name. Within the class, if you want to delete, we can do that, self dot variable name. We can have more than one class, why not? Any number of classes we can include. That is different issue. Any number of classes we can create. But we have to access by creating object for the class only. Even nested class programming also there. Okay, I will tell you a class within the class, that is nested class. So I can go for nested class in upcoming session. And we can delete instance variables outside of the class as follows. Del space object reference dot variable name, because outside the class self will not work, only object reference will work, variable name. So let's see the example how to delete instance variable, and by creating multiple objects to the class. So if I delete one object copy, other copy will affect or not, we will see that how it will be affect. Let's see this. So I'm going to show you example, different example. Object oriented programming 8 only. Yeah, I can create a class called test class. Let's see this test class, and here I'm creating constructor self dot a, multiple instance variables I'm taking. Self dot b equals to 20 self dot c equals to 30. Okay, yeah. T1 is my object 1 because I have to show multiple object through. T2 is object 2. Then T1 copy, T1 copy, T2 copy. I'm going to print a dictionary format. T2 copy also I'm printing dictionary format. So right now we have a class test and we have a constructor and we have created two objects here. Yes, it's a instance variable only. We are talking about instance variable right now. Whatever the variables I'm declaring, these are all instance variables only. See, we are talking completely about this now. Later we have to go with this and this. First we are talking about this type of variables only, instance variables only. This total story belongs to instance variables. So see here, test class init is a constructor, and inside the constructor I have declared three instance variables a, b, c, 10, 20, 30, and I created two objects of class t1 equal to test, t2 equal to test. T1, T2 are two objects of my class, and print t1 dot dictionary, print t2 dot dictionary. The moment when I run this object oriented programming 8, now you can see t1 copy is having dictionary A10 B20 C30. T2 copy also is having dictionary like A10 B20 C30. Got my point? Yes. Fine. But as I said that, how to delete instance variables? We can delete instance variables within the class as follows. How to delete? Del space self dot variable name. Which variable do you want to delete? That variable we can delete by using what? Self. Del is a what? Keyword only. Okay, let's see this. I'm trying to delete instance variables in this program within the class only by using m1 method. Method is required here. And if you want to delete any instance variable, we can use simply del space self dot variable name a. Okay, but observe carefully. I'm trying to delete okay, m1 method through. I'm trying to delete one variable called a, that is instance variable self dot a. But after deleting, what copy will affect is important. But you are saying that you are deleting this instance variable through what method? M1 method. But when this deletion will affect, sir? Whenever we call this M1 method. Because when we call the method M1, then method will execute. Then only the deletion will affect here. Got my point? Yes. But you are calling this M1 method through which object is the matter? Which object? Because two objects are there, T1, T2 are there. Which object through you are going to call this m1 method is the matter. Let's see this. I'm calling t1 dot m1. Okay, t1 dot m1. Before deleting by calling m1 method, the instance variables of t1 t2 copy are a10 b20 c30. After deleting also, I want to show you how the output will be displayed. After deleting means t1 dot m1 method, when we call, automatically del keyword through self dot a variable will be delete. But look at this here, two copies are there. Which copy of instance variables a will be delete? T1 copy, because t1 dot m1 I'm taking, because as I mentioned, we can create any number of objects to the class. For every object, a separate copy of instance variables will be created. If we change or delete one copy of instance variables, then other copy of instance variables will not affect. Other copy of instance variables will not affect, we can say that. Okay, let's see this. So I'm trying to execute this test object oriented programming 8. Now A10 B20 C30, A10 B20 C30. Now you can see T1 copy only a value removed, but T2 copy still a value there. Just observe here. Okay, T1 copy only a value deleted. Still T2 copy a value still it is there, not deleted. The reason is why we can create any number of objects to the class. For every object, a separate copy of instance variables will be created. If we change or delete one copy of instance variables, then other copy of instance variables will not affect. That's what this type of variables are called, instance variables. Look at this. Instance variable definition is, if the value of variable is varied from object to object, varied means what? Different from object to object, then such type of variables are called instance variables. I can say that if the value of variable is varied from object to object, then such type of variables are called instance variables. For every object, separate copy of instance variables will be created. If you delete or change one copy of instance variable, other copy of instance variables will not affect. Look at this t1.m1. I am calling m1 method through I deleted what? A variable, but that t1 copy deleted only will affect a value, but still t2 copy, still it is there. If we delete or change, but where we deleted instance variable in this program, within the class only we deleted instance variable, no, within the class. Okay, but as I said that we can also delete instance variables outside of the class as follows. Outside of the class, how to delete instance variables? Del space object reference dot variable name. So let's see this outside of the class, how to delete instance variable. Let's see this. Del space object reference variable name. Now you can see t2 I'm giving, a b I'm taking. Now this time you can see I'm deleting b instance variable from which object? T2 object. But will it affect T1? No, sir. Now you can see b gone from T2, but still b is there in T1 copy. B there in T1 copy, but b is not there in T2 copy because I deleted T2 copy b reference. So this is instance variable. We can delete or change, I said, no? Look at this. If we change or delete one copy of instance variables, then other copy of instance variables will not affect, I say. If we change also I want to do this. How to change it? Now you can see changes. So I'm changing this t1 dot c equals to 99. t1 dot c equals to 99. t1 dot c equal to 99 means what? 30 value. In place of 30 value, 99 is affecting. In place of 30 value, 99 is affecting here. But in which copy is affecting? T1 copy only, because t1 dot c equal to 99 I'm changing, but t2 copy, is this changes? No, sir, it's not changing. So this is what clear example what is instance variable, how it will work. So instance variable definition is what? If the value of variable is varied, means what? Different from object to object, then such type of variables are called what variables? Instance variables. So this is the complete story of instance variables. If you want, you can delete it. If you want, you can change it also. But on which copy of instance variable you are deleting or changing, that copy of instance variable only will affect. Other copy of instance variables will not affect clearly, sir. Okay. But sir, how I can recognize instance variables? Means simple. In object oriented programming, the variable which is associated with the self inside the class, that is instance variable, and outside the class the variable which is associated with object reference, that is called instance variable. Simple. That's what it is. Object level variable, I said. Okay, instance variable also called as what variable? Object level variable. Look at this. Because object we are trying to access, which copy, which object you are going to change the instance variable value, that object only will affect, other object will not be affected clearly. This is about instance variables story, where we can declare instance variables inside the constructor using self, inside the method using self, outside the class using object reference. Where we can access instance variables, inside the class we can access instance variables using self, outside the class we can access instance variable using object reference. We can create any number of objects to the class, but for every object a separate copy of instance variables will be created. If we change or delete one copy of instance variables, then other copy of instance variables will not affect. How to delete instance variables means we can delete instance variables within the class as follows: del space self dot variable name. We can delete instance variables outside of the class as follows: del space object reference dot variable name. Okay, this is the case exactly. So this is story about instance variables. As I said, that three types of variables are allowed in Python object oriented programming class. One is instance variables, clearly. Next we are talking about static variables. This is also called as class level variables. Let's give the clear example of static variables. Static variables, these are also called as class level variables. But look at this instance variable definition, what I have given, same, but small change is required. So static variables, that is called class level variable. If the value of variable is not varied from object to object, if the value of variable is not varied from object to object, then such type of variables are called what are such type of variable? Just a moment. If the value of variable is not varied from object to object, then such type of variables we can declare directly. We can declare directly, directly inside the class, inside the class, but outside of the method, outside of the methods is called static or class level variables. Static or class level variables. Okay. If the value of variable is not varied from object to object, then such type of variables we can declare directly inside the class but outside of the methods is called static or class level variables. Okay. So throughout the class, only one static variables copy will be maintained. For all objects, now you can see for all objects, for all objects, only, there is only, there is only, there is only copy of, one copy of, one copy of static variables will be created, sir. Only one copy of static variables will be created. If we change or delete static variables, static variable, it will affect, it will affect all objects of the class. It will affect all object of the class. Why? Because static variables only one copy will maintain reference. Once we change or delete static variables, then it will affect all objects of the class only. Because throughout the class, only one copy of static variables will be created. Once we change the static variable value or delete the static variable value, then it will affect all the objects only of the class. This is static variables. This also called as what level? Class level. How to recognize static variables are the value of variable is not varied from object to object. Then such type of variables we can declare where? Directly inside the class, but outside of the methods is called what? Actually static or class level variables. Okay, let's see this. The example number 9. So you can able to find the difference between static or class level variables and also instance or object level variables. Object oriented programming 9. Now class test I'm taking, class test. Now you can see a equals to 10. This is called or static or class level variable. Static or class level variability. Def underscore underscore init. Now this is what actually not static variable, it is called instance variable. Instance variable. Observe carefully. Instance variable, how to recognize? The variable which is associated with what? Self. it is called instance variable. But look at this, static variable or class level variables means the variable which is declared outside of the class, but sorry, within the class but outside of the methods. Methods or constructors. Constructor is also a special method, as I said. The variable which is declared within the class but outside of the method is called static or class level variables. This is static variable. But here B is what variable? Instance variable. How to recognize? Because it's associated with what? Self only. Now I'm including wantedly both. Let's see this. T1 is my object reference. T1 test. T2 is also my object reference test. Now I'm printing T1 copy, T2 copy. Let's see this. T1 copy, T1 dot A, comma, T1 dot B, T1 dot B. Next I'm taking here T2, next T2, T2 dot A, comma, T2 dot what actually B only, T2 dot B, T1 dot A, T1 dot B, T2 dot A, T2 dot B. So T1 copy, T2 copy, two copies I'm maintaining now. Let's run this object-oriented programming 9, and now we can see here we got T1 1020, T2 1020. So two copies I'm printing, T1 copy I'm printing and T2 copy I'm printing. Got my point? Yes. But look at this. I am trying to change. So how to access static variables means generally you can see we can access we can access we can access static variables or class level variables either by using class name or by using object reference. We can access static variables either by using class name or by using object reference. We can say that by using class name or by using object reference. But recommended is class name. But recommended is class name through only. But recommended is class name. We can access static variables either by using class name or by using object reference. But recommended is what actually class name through only we can access better. Okay, recommended is class name. So I'm trying to access static variable a value 10, no? Yeah, right. But I'm trying to change the static variable value. Now you can see test is my class name, a equals to 99. Moment when I change the static variable value from 10 to 99, this impact will be on two objects reference for sure. Now you can see before changing T1 copy, T2 copy, A value 10, B value 20, T2 copy also A value 10, B value 20. But once I change the static variable value, that actual value of static variable initially is what? 10 only. But I'm changing this from 10 to what? 99. This will affect on all copies or not? Yes. The reason is why for all objects, there is only one copy of static variables will be created. If we change or delete static variables, it will affect all objects of the class only. Yes. So look at this 99 value is changing. Once I change that, after changing, it's affecting on T1 copy as well as T2 copy also. So this is the difference between instance variables as well as static variables. Because instance variable means for every object separate copy will be created. Okay, for every object separate copy will be created. Static variables means only throughout the class one copy will be created. Once we change that one copy of static variables, it will affect on all other copies. Now you can see I'm changing a static variable value from 10 to 99. That 99 is impacting on T1 reference as well as T2 reference. Multiple objects reference it is impacting. So this is static variable. But here in this example, we have also B. It is what? Instance variable. So this instance variable I'm changing. Instance variable value is what? 20. Suppose T1 dot B equals to 88 I'm taking. So in which copy of instance variable you are changing? T1. Which copy of instance variable you are changing? T1 copy. So T1 copy only will change B value, not T2 copy, because look at this T1 copy, B variable value only change from 10 to 88, but T2 copy is not changing because what? It's a instance variable. Instance variable means if the value of variable is varied from object to object is called instance variables. Once we change the one copy of instance variable, other copy will not affect. But static variables means what? Throughout the class, only one copy will be maintained, static variable. Once we change static variable value, it will impact on all objects of the class only. This is exactly difference between static variable and instance variable. And final conclusion I am giving about these two variables. How to recognize instance variable means simple. Inside the class means inside the constructor, inside the method. Whenever we notice the variable which is associated with self, that is called instance variable. And outside of the object references, the variable which is associated with object reference, that is also instance variable. But how to recognize static variable or class level variable means the variable which is declared outside of the methods or constructors, but within the class is called static variable. But look at this, static variable never declare with the help of self only, without self. If it is self means again it will become instance variable only. But this is static variable on the top of the methods. First, after class immediately, whatever the variable we declared, this is called static variable. So these are the two differences between instance variables and static variables. This is clear differences. But local variables also there. These variables also called as what variables? Method level variables. Method level variables means only the variable which is going to declare inside the particular method, and that variables can only be accessed within that method, not outside of the method, is called method level variable, is also called as local variables, we can say that. So let's see this local variables and method level variables, how to work on it. So these variables also called as temporary variables. Temporary variables means I'll tell you just a moment. Local variables or method level variables. Local variables or method level variables. The variables, the variables which are declared, which are declared inside the particular method, the variables which are declared inside the particular method, and that variables are only accessed within the method. Variables are allowed to access, variables are allowed to access within that method, within that method is called local variables, local variables or else method level variables. Okay, next, these variables, these variables are also called as, these variables are also called as temporary variables, temporary variables, because once as soon as method execution start, these variables will be created. As soon as method execution start, then these variables will be created. These variables will be created. Once method execution, once method execution ends, then these variables will be destroyed. These variables will be destroyed. That's what we can call it as, these variables are temporary variables. These variables are also called as temporary variables. As soon as method execution start, then these variables will be created. Once method execution ends, then these variables will be destroyed automatically. So this is called temporary variables or local variables, we can say that. Local variables we cannot access outside of the method. Local variables cannot access not access outside of the method. Outside of the methods, not possible to access local variables. It's not possible, sir. Outside of the methods, not possible. Local variables cannot access outside of the methods. Okay, let's see this.
I have one question here.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Can you once repeat the difference between static? I will show that. Tell me. You can ask the question.
yeah, there is a sixth step, the T1 equal to test. So we are copying that to T1, right? So at 10th step, test.ea. So once we copied, we are modifying that variable value, right? So
Yeah.
my question is, how does it impacting here? The 12th step where T1.a, which is modifying the value, right?
Because
So,
test is a class name here. So this is the class level variable. Generally, whenever we do changes class level variable, then that impact will be there in that object everything, because T1, T2 or objects are representing what class? Test class only, no?
okay. So the sixth step we are already copied, right? So it will impact already copied instance. I mean, that instances as well, right? Is that you
Obviously,
saying?
see, the thing is, here line number 8 and 9, the impact is not there. A value 10 only there. You can see this. Line number 8 and 9. But when it comes to line number 10, A value 99 means class level variable is changing. That once it is changing, it will carry forward for all copies of reference of test only. So 99 here it is affecting. 99 is here is affecting. But the moment here you can see this B is the instance variable. This B is the instance variable here. Which copy you are going to change? T1 copy of B equal to 88. So T1 only impact, T2 will not impact here.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
So
you.
the difference between static variables as well as instance variable means simple. Any number of objects we can create to the class. For every object, a separate copy of the instance variables will be maintained. But any number of objects we create to the class, for all objects, only one copy of static variables will be created. That is the only exactly difference. Only one copy will maintain for all objects for static variables. But instance variables, only separate copy. T1 copy, T2 copy, even T3, T4, T5 also. For every object reference, separate copy will be maintained. That is instance variable. And now moment is local variables or method level variables. The variables which are declared inside the particular method and that variables are allowed to access within the method is called local variables. These variables are also called as temporary variables. As soon as method execution start, then these variables will be created. Once method execution ends, then these variables will be destroyed. Local variables cannot access outside of the methods. Let's see this how local variable example here. So quickly I can show test class, and here you can see m1 method is there. M1 method a equals to 10. It's a local variable. Okay, I'm trying to access print a here. Df m2 here. Now you can see b equals to 20. It's a local variable of m2, and t equals to test, and t dot m1 method I'm calling, t dot m2 method I'm calling. So here a belongs to m1 method and b belongs to m2 method. We got 10, 20. Fine. So you can see, observe here, the variable inside the m1 method, inside the m2 method, which are not associated with any self. Okay. So this is local variable. If we cannot access a here, look at this, because a is belongs to m1 method, but you are trying to access in m2. So name a is not defined, line number 9 in m2 here. At the same time, we cannot access b inside the M1 because M1 B is the local variable of M2, but you are trying to access in M1. So this is the difference between instance and local variable. But look at this, the moment when I try to give self dot a, it will become what? Instance variable. So instance variable we can access in M1 method, and also instance variable we can access in outside the method like M2 method also we can access. Possible, why not? M1 method when we call a value printing, M2 method when we call b value 20, again a value also 10 is printing like this. So self is only difference. The variable which is associated with self, it will become instance variable, not local variable. Without self, it will become what? Local variable. Okay. So how to recognize local variable? Inside the particular method, once we declare the variable name without self, that is called local. How to recognize the instance variable? The variable which is declared within the class using self, that is instance variable. How to recognize static variable? The variable which is declared outside of the methods within the class without self, that is called static variables. So this is the story about three types of variables. So method level, that is local; class level, that is static; object level, that is instance variable. Three types of variables are allowed in Python object oriented programming class. As I said, that class is a collection of variables and methods. While creating class in the Python object-oriented programming, we can work with these three types of variables. At the same time, three types of methods also there, like instance methods, static methods, class methods, that I will discuss in tomorrow session clearly. So once we got a clarity about three types of methods and three types of variables, then it will be easy to handle the object-oriented programming features like encapsulation, polymorphism, inheritance, all these things. Okay. In tomorrow lecture, we will discuss three types of methods, and at the same time, I will give you more clarity about static variables, because today I have discussed only static variables, very basics, but static variables also we can delete it in different places we can access it. So without discussing methods, I can't go for in deep discussion of static variables. So this is about today's session. In tomorrow, you will get more clarity about methods and variables so that we will start with our object-oriented programming features, encapsulation, polymorphism, inheritance, abstraction, all these things.
Thank you.